Take a look at any phone charger, flash drive, or cable, and you'll see the familiar USB logo align with 3 branching shapes at the end. Most people never think about it, but this tiny symbol hides a story that goes all the way back to mythology. Its design was inspired by Neptune's trident, the 3-pronged spear of the Roman god of the sea. The idea was to create a symbol of power and universality, showing how one simple port could branch into many different uses. Each shape at the end has a meaning too. The circle, square, and triangle represent different types of data and connections. That's why you'll never see the logo with random shapes, because it was carefully designed to send a message of adaptability and strength. Just like how Neptune's trident could command the seas and legends, the USB standard became the tool that unified computers, phones, and devices everywhere. Next time you plug in a cable, you're actually holding a piece of hidden design history that connects ancient myths with modern technology. Take a close look at a headphone jack, and you'll notice it has shiny metal parts separated by black bands. These little rings aren't there for style, they reveal exactly what the jack can do. A standard jack with 1 ring is called mono, which means it sends the same sound to both ears. 2 rings mean stereo with left and right channels, giving music that sense of space and depth we're all used to. Add a 3rd ring, and you're looking at a jack that also carries microphone input, which is why headsets can handle both sound and voice. This clever system goes back decades and has barely changed because it's so effective. It's a design that hides a lot of complexity in something that looks simple. Without those rings, you wouldn't hear guitar solos coming from one side and vocals from the other like in classic rock tracks, or enjoy the immersive sound of a movie as if you were in the middle of the scene. Okay, so grab a soda from a fast food place and check out the lid for a second. You'll notice these raised bubbles with little letters or maybe just blank circles. These aren't just some random patterns, they're actually a pretty clever system for keeping drinks organized. Workers can press those bubbles inward to mark which drink is inside. Like one pop button could mean cola, another might mean diet, and a different one could signal lemonade. It's a simple code that stops mistakes when there are like dozens of cups lined up during a rush. And hey, it also saves money, since restaurants don't need separate lids for every drink type. Plus, the design keeps the lid strong because the bubble shapes add durability so the plastic doesn't collapse easily. So the next time you order at a busy counter and get your drink in, like 2 seconds, part of that speed comes from that little trick hidden right there on the lid in your hand. If you ever owned one of those 2-colored erasers, chances are you believed the same story told in, well, countless classrooms. The pink side was for pencil, and the mysterious blue side was for pen ink. Kids everywhere tried it out, only to end up with torn pages or smeared notes. But the real story is honestly way more practical and rooted in the history of art and design. The pink half is made softer, perfect for everyday notebook paper, removing regular graphite marks without much damage. The blue side, though, is tougher, almost gritty. It was actually invented for artists, architects, and engineers who use thick, high-quality paper or drawing sheets. On those surfaces, normal erasers would leave streaks, but the coarse texture of the blue side could cleanly remove darker, deeper marks. Sometimes it could even lighten pen ink by scraping off the upper fiber of the page, which is probably how the myth of an ink eraser got started. In truth, its main purpose was precision. The firm edge of the blue part let draftsmen target tiny mistakes without smudging an entire drawing. So what seems like a simple classroom supply is actually a tool designed for accuracy and professionalism, linking everyday schoolwork to the tradition of technical sketching and artistic detail. Open up any lined notebook and you'll see those empty spaces along the edges, the classic margins teachers always insisted we keep neat. Most people figure margins were invented just to help us write more clearly or give space for corrections, but honestly, their true origin is way stranger. Back in medieval times, when books were handwritten on parchment and later on early paper, rodents were a real problem. Mice and rats were known to chew the edges of manuscripts, since they were attracted to the starch used in the pages. So, to protect the important text, scribes and bookmakers started leaving wide blank borders. So even if the hungry pests nibbled away, the main writing would still be safe. Over time, this practical habit turned into a design tradition, sticking around even after printing presses and modern paper came along. And today, margins are still useful, preventing ink from smudging near the edge of pages and giving readers space for notes. But behind that neat red line in your notebook, There's a history of ancient survival tricks where something as simple as blank paper space was actually a shield against tiny enemies with sharp teeth. Okay, so take a quick look at your keyboard and you'll notice two little raised bumps, one on the F key and another on the J key. At first glance, they don't look like much. But honestly, those tiny ridges are one of the smartest design features in modern technology. They exist to help you find the home row without needing to look down at the keys. When touch typing was introduced way back in the late 19th century, instructors taught people to rest their index fingers on F and J with the other fingers naturally falling into place. The bumps became a permanent guide, allowing typists to position their hands instantly and type faster with fewer mistakes. This simple invention made typing more efficient not just for office workers, but eventually for anyone using computers, laptops, or even ATMs. In fact, professional speed typists rely heavily on those tactile cues to maintain accuracy at high speeds. It's a tiny detail that most of us overlook, yet it's responsible for shaping how billions of people interact with technology every single day. Without those bumps, typing would feel a lot more like guesswork. So, you've probably seen it dozens of times without thinking that odd little cylinder bulging near the end of a laptop charger or monitor cable. It looks like a piece of cheap plastic, but in reality, it's one of the unsung heroes of modern electronics. Inside that bump is a ferrite bead, a ring made of iron-based ceramic that helps control electromagnetic interference. When electricity flows through cables, especially ones powering computers or TVs, it can create unwanted signals that mess with other devices. The ferrite bead absorbs those stray frequencies, acting like a filter that keeps your gadgets running smoothly without buzzing, flickering, or causing interference with Wi-Fi or radio signals. Engineers call this noise suppression, and without it, your speakers might crackle or your screen might show odd glitches. What's clever is how invisible this work is. You'll never notice it unless you know what to look for. But every time your charger powers your laptop without interrupting your headphones or your router, that simple bump deserves the credit. It's proof that even the smallest details can carry the biggest responsibilities in our tech-driven world. If you've ever used a cheese knife or noticed certain kitchen blades with a neat round hole in them, you might have wondered what it's for. It's not just decoration, and it's definitely not a flaw in the design. That hole actually solves a very practical problem: food sticking to the blade. When you slice through something soft like cheese, tomatoes, or boiled potatoes, the flat surface of the knife can create suction that makes the slice cling stubbornly to the metal. The hole breaks that suction, allowing air to flow and releasing the food more easily. This is why knives designed for dairy or sticky ingredients almost always have the feature. In some cases, the hole also serves as a point for hanging the knife securely on racks in professional kitchens. Another bonus is weight reduction, which gives chefs more control during delicate cuts. While most home cooks don't think twice about it, professional chefs rely on this simple trick to save time and keep slices smooth. Next time you're in the kitchen and notice that hole, you'll know it's not just a quirky detail, but a smart design choice born from centuries of refining cooking tools. Buy a new jacket, shirt, or pair of pants, and you'll often find a tiny square of fabric tucked inside a pocket or attached to the tag. Most people assume it's just for patching up holes, but that's not its true purpose. The extra swatch is actually there so you can test how the material reacts before risking the whole garment. Want to know if a stain remover will damage the color, or how the fabric will shrink in hot water? The little sample is your testing ground. Manufacturers include it because fabrics can behave differently under certain detergents, or when exposed to bleach. The swatch lets you try it out safely instead of experimenting on the real thing. Of course, some creative people do keep them for repairs, but their original role is quality assurance at home. It's a thoughtful detail that shows how much care goes into clothing design, even after it leaves the factory. Next time you find that tiny piece of fabric, don't toss it aside right away. It's a hidden tool, meant to save you from laundry disasters and extend the life of your clothes. Open a new bottle of vitamins or aspirin, and you'll often find a wad of cotton stuffed inside. Many people think it's there to keep the pills fresh, but the real reason is more about protection during transport. Back when medicine first began being mass-produced and shipped in large numbers, pills were less durable and could easily break apart from bouncing around inside bottles. The cotton acted as a cushion, holding the tablets in place and preventing crumbling before they reached the pharmacy shelf. Over time, manufacturing improved, and tablets became sturdier. which means that in many cases, the cotton isn't really necessary anymore. In fact, for some medicines, cotton can even attract moisture and make pills degrade faster, which is why modern drug companies are phasing it out. Still, plenty of bottles continue the tradition because consumers expect to see it, and it gives a sense of tamper protection. The next time you pull that fluffy piece out, remember it's a leftover from an era when pills needed extra care just to survive the journey to your home. Stand in front of a microwave and you'll see a dark mesh of tiny dots covering the glass door. It looks decorative, but those dots are a hidden shield. Microwaves work by creating electromagnetic waves that heat water molecules inside your food, and those waves need to be safely contained. The metal grid in the door is designed with holes small enough to block microwaves from escaping, but large enough for visible light to pass through. That's why you can watch your leftovers spin while staying safe from the radiation inside. The science behind it is called a Faraday cage, a principle that traps certain types of energy within a metal barrier. Engineers built it right into the door to make the appliance safe for everyday use. Without it, your microwave would be like an open transmitter, interfering with electronics and potentially causing harm. Next time you warm up pizza or popcorn, take a second to look at that patterned glass. It isn't just there to give the oven a sleek look. It's a carefully engineered safety net that makes one of the most common kitchen gadgets completely reliable. Okay, so look closely at the back of your phone, right near the camera lens, and you'll spot this tiny hole that, honestly, most people mistake for a reset button or just some quirky design thing. But in reality, it's actually a carefully placed microphone. Modern phones use multiple microphones to capture sound more accurately, and the one near the camera, well, it plays a special role. When you record video, that little hole picks up sound from the environment, giving you clear audio to match your footage. It even helps during phone calls by canceling out background noise. The microphone compares what it hears with the main mic near your mouth, then filters out unwanted sounds, like wind or traffic, leaving your voice crisp and easy to understand. Without it, your calls would sound muffled, and your videos would totally lose that sense of space that makes them feel real. It's a perfect example of how phone makers hide advanced technology in places most of us never even notice. So the next time you snap a picture or shoot a video, just remember that small, almost invisible dot is quietly working behind the scenes to make everything sound better. Alright, take a look at the very top of your sneakers and you'll probably notice an extra set of small holes, just sitting there above the regular row of eyelets. Most people never bother with them and just assume they're for looks, but they actually serve a pretty clever purpose. Those extra holes are designed for what's called a heel lock, or lace lock technique. By looping your laces through them in a certain way, you create extra friction around the ankle, which keeps your foot from sliding forward inside the shoe. This little trick reduces blisters, stops your toes from slamming against the front, and gives you more stability when you're running or hiking. Athletes, marathon runners, and even military trainers often rely on this lacing style to protect their feet during the long activity. And another bonus, it adds ankle support without making the shoe heavier or bulkier. While most people just walk around, never touching those holes, knowing how to use them can actually make a surprising difference in comfort. So next time you buy sneakers, give the heel lock a shot. You might wonder why you never used those mystery eyelets before. So pick up a bottle of water and you'll notice something that, honestly, doesn't seem to make sense. There's an expiration date printed on the label or the cap. Water itself doesn't spoil. In its pure form, it can sit unchanged for centuries. The reason for the date isn't about the liquid, it's actually about the container. Most bottled water comes in plastic bottles made from peat, a material that can slowly break down over time. As it ages, small amounts of chemicals might leach into the water, especially if the bottle is stored in heat or direct sunlight. The expiration date is really just a guideline from manufacturers to guarantee the taste and quality stay the same, and also to comply with regulations that require all consumable products to carry some sort of date marking. Plus, over long periods, the plastic can start to let outside odors seep in, subtly changing the flavor. So while the water won't suddenly go bad, it might not taste as fresh. The next time you see a date on your water bottle, just remember, it's not about the water at all, it's about the package it lives in. Flip over a plastic soda bottle and, well, you'll notice the base isn't flat. Instead, it's shaped with several petal-like indents, almost like the bottom of a flower. This design isn't random or decorative, it's pure engineering. See, carbonated drinks are bottled under high pressure to keep all that fizz locked inside. If the bottom of the bottle were flat, it would bulge outwards or even split under the constant pressure of carbonation. The petals actually distribute that pressure evenly across the base, making the bottle more stable and far less likely to fail. The design also helps the bottle stand upright without wobbling, while reducing the amount of plastic needed compared to thicker flat bases. This clever shape balances cost, strength, and stability in a way that most people never notice. Engineers often call it the petaloid base, and it's become the global standard for soft drink packaging. Next time you grab a soda, turn it over, you'll see that the bottom is a hidden masterpiece of pressure management, quietly keeping every sip bubbly and safe. If you've ever looked closely at a measuring tape, you may have noticed more than just inches and feet. Strange black diamonds appear along the length, usually between the numbers. To the average person, they seem like random decorations, but builders and carpenters know their secret. These diamonds are reference points used in construction, especially when spacing floor joists or trusses. In many building standards, they mark every 19.2 inches. Why that odd number? Because 5 of those intervals fit neatly into 8 feet, which is the standard length of plywood and other sheet materials. Using the black diamonds allows builders to place 5 evenly spaced supports under a board, reducing sag and saving material without sacrificing strength. It's a clever system hidden in plain sight, created for efficiency long before digital tools or laser guides became common. And it's not just the diamonds, some tapes also feature tiny red numbers at 16-inch intervals, another standard spacing for studs and walls. Together, these hidden marks turn a simple tape measure into a silent assistant, giving professionals quick shortcuts that most people never even notice. Slip your hand into a pair of jeans and you'll often find a tiny pocket tucked inside the larger front pocket. Today, most people use it for coins, tickets, or even earbuds, but its story goes back to the 1800s. When Levi Strauss first introduced denim pants for miners and cowboys, the small pocket was added to hold pocket watches. These timepieces were valuable and delicate, and cowboys needed a safe place to keep them while riding or working outdoors. The snug little pocket was the perfect size, keeping the watch secure and preventing it from swinging around. Over time, even as pocket watches disappeared from daily life, the feature remained as part of the traditional design. It became known as the watch pocket, though over the decades people have reimagined its use in countless ways. What's interesting is that even modern fashion designers rarely remove it, treating it as an iconic detail of jeans like rivets or stitching patterns. So the next time you notice that small square pocket, remember it's not just for coins, it's a surviving piece of cowboy history stitched into clothing that millions still wear every day. If you grab a regular ballpoint pen and check the cap, you'll notice a small hole drilled into the top. Most people assume it's there to equalize air pressure or prevent the ink from drying out, but the real reason is more serious and thoughtful. Manufacturers added that hole as a safety feature to reduce the risk of choking. Pen caps are among the most commonly chewed objects in schools and offices, and, well, accidents do happen. The hole allows a small flow of air to pass through if the cap is accidentally swallowed, giving the person precious time until help arrives. It's one of those simple design choices that most of us take for granted, but has had a huge impact worldwide. At the same time, the hole does serve secondary purposes, like helping the plastic mold evenly during manufacturing and reducing cracking. That's why almost every major pen brand follows the same practice. So the next time you idly click or chew on a pen during a meeting, remember that the tiny opening in the cap is more than a quirk. It's a clever feature designed to make a very ordinary object a little safer. Next time you ride an escalator, look down at your feet. Each step is covered with long grooves, and when the steps flatten at the top and bottom, they slide perfectly into comb-like plates with matching ridges. Many people assume it's just for grip, but the grooves have several hidden jobs. First, they help channel dirt and debris away, preventing the surface from getting slippery and dangerous. Second, they act as a safety feature. The grooves discourage loose objects like coins, wrappers, or even the edge of a shoe sole from getting trapped where the steps disappear. By aligning with the comb plates at the landing, the design scrapes away anything riding on the surface, dramatically lowering the risk of jams. Engineers also found that the textured steps make passengers instinctively stand a bit straighter, keeping feet clear of the dangerous sides where clothing or laces could catch. Escalators carry millions of people every day in malls, airports, and train stations, And without those grooves, breakdowns and accidents would be far more common. It's a perfect example of how what looks like simple ridges are actually a blend of engineering, safety, and human psychology, hidden beneath your every step. Pick up a padlock and look closely at the bottom. Many of them have a small, almost unnoticeable hole near the key slot. At first, it looks like a flaw or maybe an air vent, but it's actually a clever piece of engineering. That hole has two important jobs. The first is drainage. When locks are used outdoors, rainwater can seep inside. Without a way to escape, moisture would collect, freeze in cold weather, and make the lock impossible to open. The drainage hole lets water run out, keeping the mechanism clear. The second job is lubrication. Lock owners can add oil through the hole to keep the pins moving smoothly, which is essential for locks exposed to dirt, dust, or constant use. In marine environments, where salt water could corrode metal in weeks, this little feature is what makes a lock last. It's a reminder that padlocks aren't just chunks of steel. They're precision devices designed to survive in tough conditions. So next time you snap one shut on a gate or locker, take a second look at that tiny hole. It's the reason your lock keeps working year after year, no matter the weather. That's about it. What other secrets of everyday things do you know? Write in the comments. For more useful information, watch other videos.